What do you want out of prayer? Some people enter prayer for prayer's sake, but consider that God wants to give you something in prayer. Oh, prayer is not all about what I can get from God. Prayer is about a relationship. But when we seek a relationship with God, it's with the ultimate giver. After all, we encounter God in the book of Genesis as the one who brought one gift after another before his prized creation, Adam, until at last the man smiled and said, "This is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone." God was not satisfied until he brought a smile to the face of Adam. And God will not be satisfied until he brings a smile to your face in prayer as well. So what do you want out of prayer? When I first went to Rome as a student, I had a shoelace that broke in my shoe. Well, I thought, I could go down the street to a shoe store and get a replacement. I walked in without a clue what the word in Italian was for shoelace. And I asked the clerk in the store for a shoelace in English. The clerk, of course, had no idea what I was asking for. So I looked down at my shoes. That was no help at all. I was wearing loafers. I didn't have shoelaces. So I found a pair of shoes on the shelf and I pointed to the shoelace. I said, "I need one of those." The person didn't understand me and so went to get one of those shoes in a size that seemed to fit me. I said, No, I want just this," and pointed to the shoelace. The person shrugged and said, "I don't have that." I asked, "What do you mean you don't have that?" "I don't have that," was the response. I knew there was another shoe store a few blocks away. I went in and encountered the same thing. Except that clerk was more clear. "We don't sell that here." I thought to myself, if you don't sell shoelaces in a shoe store, where can I find them? And so I asked, in my halting Italian, "Where can I find these?" And the person said to me, in a manner you might say to a child, "Well, in a shoe accessory store, of course." "Oh, I'm sorry, why didn't I know that?" I asked where there was a shoe accessory store, and the person said, "Non lo so, I don't know." I went back to the house where I was living, and the porter, an Italian, a Roman, wanted to hear my story. How successful was I in finding a shoelace? I told him not successful at all. Well, to my surprise, the next day I showed up and he had gotten a pair of shoelaces for me, and there they were in my mailbox. What do you want from prayer? When you go shopping, you often know what you want, or else you're just shopping to see what's there. The same should be true in prayer. What are you asking of God? What do you seek from God? When you enter into a moment or a time of prayer, what is it you're asking for? We can call that a grace. The word grace means gift. What is the gift that you're asking God to give you in this time of prayer? Very often a beginner in prayer will just try to focus on the style or format of prayer. Sooner or later we come to realize God wants to give us gifts in prayer. That relationship with God is one that brings life and expands us in faith, hope, and love. And ultimately, those are the gifts of God, but there are particular gifts that God may want to give us in a moment of prayer. There may be particular gifts we need at that moment, and that's what we take to God in prayer. If you don't know what you want, how will you know when you've received it? The next step in prayer is to ask not what I want in prayer, but God, what do you want to give me in prayer? What are the graces you want me to ask for? How many times in the gospel do you see Jesus encountering a person so obviously in need, but Jesus asked them, "What do you want from me?" Oh, the Lord knew he wanted to heal them, make them whole, give them the gift of sight or hearing, or the ability to walk and run and leap in God's presence. but he asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" In the same way, God may have a gift prepared for us, but the Lord wants to awaken our heart to that gift by asking us, "What do you want?" What are the graces you want to receive from God when you go to pray that day? Or what are the graces God wants you to receive and wants you to ask for? At the beginning of each prayer, we should have in mind a grace that we request of God. And in that prayer, we should be attentive, mindful, aware of how God is stirring our heart toward that grace, that gift. Or we might spend some time at the beginning asking God, "What gift do you want me to ask for, dear Lord? What gift do you have in store for me?" And then, attentive to the movement of the Spirit within us, be aware of how God is at work. We should never end a time of prayer without calling to mind, what is the grace or graces that God has given me in this time of prayer? Jot them down, capture them, or at least store them away in the back of your mind. Carry those graces with you through the rest of the day. Take them until the next time of prayer. Accept them, mull them over. Watch for how those graces play out in your life in the coming hours and days. When God gives a grace, it's intended for a purpose. It's like planting a seed in your soul that's intended to grow and give life and bear fruit. Watch for that to bear fruit. And lastly, when you are aware of a gift, a grace that God has given you in prayer, don't be afraid to share that with others. Your sharing that grace with another person may be the grace God intends for them. They may need to hear how God is at work in your life, and so that will awaken or complete a grace God has planted in their lives. When you go shopping, know what you want, or be attentive to something that falls off the shelf at you that you know you can use. But when you enter into prayer, do it the same way. Be aware of a grace you want, or become aware of a grace God wants to give you. And then allow that grace to grow and bear fruit, and don't be afraid to share it with others. You may be the grace God sends them. God bless you.